death, taxes, and the Boston Celtics falling flat on their face in the playoffs. I'm really tired of this, dude. It's so every year. This is every year, dude. Every year. This team has fallen short every single season since they won the chip back in 08. The Celtics are essentially the basketball equivalent to the modern day 49ers, or maybe like the Bills back in the 90s when they lost 4 straight Super Bowls. I mean, I might be stretching it there. You know, it's hard to be that bad. They're good damn near every year, and every year, without fail, they fall short. This is the year where it feels like there's no excuses for this team. Brad Stevens and company have tailor-made this team to go out and make a championship run, finally get that ring after so many years of falling just short. But somehow, they've struggled when they really shouldn't have. The Boston Celtics faced the 4-seed Cleveland Cavaliers at home, and after beating them by 25 points in Game 1, they turned around and lost by 24 points in Game 2. How? Now, I know what you're probably thinking. I know. But Darren...
Porzingis wasn't out there.
That doesn't matter.
I'm the man.
That shouldn't matter. Boston is still a better team than Cleveland without Porzingis, but they sure as hell didn't play like it last night. Now, before the Cleveland fans swarm the comment section and say I'm just a fucking hater, pump the brakes, let me say something real quick. Cleveland's a good team. I'm not gonna sit here and act like this is some scrub team. They're good. They're the 4 seed for a reason. Donovan Mitchell, stud. I'm still not over the Rookie of the Year snub to rookie Ben Simmons. I'll never forget. Hashtag never forget. That's my never forget. Darius Garland.
Dog.
Evan Mobley.
Dog.
This is a good squad, and they beat Boston in Game 2 super convincingly, even without Jared Allen playing. So if Cleveland wanted to make some excuses, they could. They've built this team from the ground up, and it's been really fun to see it kind of come to shape. We made a video about them 2 years ago and kind of talked about what is today's current roster, and it's really worked out well for them. They are a good team, but the Celtics should be better. This Boston Celtics team has been regarded as the best team in the East and even the NBA all season long, and at times I see it. They'll go out, they'll beat a team by 30, 40 points, and you're like, damn. This team is unstoppable, untouchable even. When this team is on, they're on, and they feel like a championship team. But that's exactly the problem. It's when they're on, because they're sure as hell not on all the time. When nights like last night happen, it's hard to turn around and crown this team as the champions of the league. Again, Cleveland's a good team, but 24-point loss? I don't know about that. Donovan Mitchell cooked last night with 29 points, and that's what I kind of expect from a player of his caliber. Donovan Mitchell is going to score. He's the best player on the team. He's going to get his. Whether they win by 30 points or lose by 30 points, Donovan Mitchell is going to get his points. But Evan Mobley coming in and dropping 21 like he's the second coming of Jesus? I didn't see that coming. It feels like another year where it's the same damn problem for this Celtics team. If that 3 ball's not dropping, you can beat this team so easily. The Celtics rely way too heavily on the 3, and they were literally the best 3-point shooting team in the regular season this past year. It's not like they can't shoot, but like, you're not going to shoot 60% every game in the playoffs. You got to be able to be diverse and score in other ways. If they're not making threes, you're likely going to beat this team. It's how we lost to Golden State in the finals, and pretty much every other time we've even gotten remotely close to the finals, and it's likely why we're going to fall short again this year. Same story, different year. I know, I'm being a pessimist right now. This is still a good team. This is only one game. I get it. But last night did not look good. From the jump, it just seemed like Cleveland wanted it more. Every run that Boston went on, Cleveland went on one of their own, and it's even better than Boston's. They scored more effectively, they guarded more effectively, they simply just played a better game. We just had no answer for what they had last night. And Derek White wasn't pulling 7 threes out of his ass like Game 1. I'll give Cleveland the credit, they just outplayed Boston, straight up. But it's not like Boston didn't score at all. Jaylen Brown has been pretty good for the most part throughout the playoffs. He's kind of been the tone setter for this team. He brings the energy and he's just able to score at all levels, but he's not going to do that every night. And he's coming off of dropping just 19 against the Cavs in Game 2. Now, 19 points isn't a terrible night, but Jaylen Brown had 32 in Game 1. It is a bit of a drop off. Derek White also had a good night last night, but same as Jaylen Brown, just wasn't as good as Game 1. But I really don't think the problem for this game was offensive production. If anything, it was the defense. We just couldn't defend last night. Now for probably one of the biggest glaring issues, especially this year's playoffs, Jayson Tatum.
I'm one of the best basketball players in the world.
What the hell is wrong with bro? It's like he's one of those basketball players from Space Jam that got the fucking talent sucked out of him before going into the postseason. Now, I will say this, Tatum did end up with 25 last night, but this man's shooting has been horrible this postseason. He's averaging about 40% from the field, but that's not the terrible stat. The terrible stat is that he's averaging 26% from three. That's just not gonna cut it, Jayson. Now, Jayson Tatum affects the game more than just scoring. He's a facilitator, he's setting screens, he's making the plays that other role players should be making, but he's doing it as a star. But man, when we need a clutch bucket, usually it's pass the ball to Jayson Tatum and let him jack up a three, but he is not him right now. It feels like he's broken, and the C's really need him to tighten up if they even want a chance at making a run to the finals. Boston has been such a good team, and they've been able to win despite Tatum's shooting struggles. But if they keep on going and they somehow make a run to the finals, he can't be in a shooting slump come then. If Tatum wants the world to respect him for the GOAT player that he says he is, he's got to earn that right here, right now. I'm not hitting the panic button just yet. It's only one game after all. We lost one game against Miami and then ended up running that series, so I think that's probably what's going to happen here. But problems like last night have been shining through the cracks for a while now. The Celtics rely way too heavily on the three ball. If you watch NBA media, that's not a secret. Everybody says that. They need to find a way to diversify their scoring. And it's not like they can't score in the point. It's just that they only want to shoot from three. And when Jayson Tatum is not getting that three ball to fall, it feels like he just crashes to the basket and just tries to draw fouls all the time. And granted, like last night, he was getting those calls, but sometimes he doesn't, and he's just out there flailing for calls, and those turn into turnovers, and those turnovers turn into points for the other team. And that's how we lose games, by not playing smart. If Cleveland was able to put the Celtics in clamps, I can only imagine what it'd be like playing the Timberwolves right now, who are on a 6-game heater, by the way. I do think the Celtics end up winning this series after all, because they just should, but it's not going to get any easier down the road. Both New York and Indiana are good teams, and while I see us playing New York in the next round, they're not some pushover squad either. This is the NBA, where everyone can play ball, especially these teams in the playoffs. Now, the East doesn't really scare me too much with this Celtics team. Coming into the postseason, everyone was kind of under the agreement that the Celtics should be able to just kind of cruise to the East to the NBA Finals. But they're gonna have to play a good team then, and whoever comes out of the West is going to be a dog. Whether it's the Mavs, the Thunder, the Timberwolves, or the Nuggets, all four of those teams are capable of winning a championship. Boston is a good team, and I know that, you know that, everyone knows that, but they haven't exactly sold me entirely on this being their year. I mean, let's just go through their postseason so far. They beat a beat-up Miami Heat team without their star player and Jimmy Butler, even dropping a game to that team where they should have swept them, let's be honest. And now they're struggling against the Cavs. The series is tied. I do think ultimately the series will end similarly to how it did with Miami, when Boston will run away with it, but still, it's not a good look. I don't expect perfection from this team. I know we're gonna lose games every once in a while, but it's not like we're losing these close games. The games that we do lose are really concerning losses because they highlight all the problems that this team has had throughout the season. I think Boston is great, but when I go and watch teams like the Timberwolves, it's hard to see Boston coming out of that with a W in a 7-game series. That's a scary team that's gonna be able to play great defense, score effectively, and probably steal some games. That's a game 7 minimum if you play that team. But we haven't even made it to the next round yet, so I'm getting too far ahead of myself. We still gotta get through whoever we have to play next. If we get past Cleveland, I just want to add that because we haven't made them past that yet. They could somehow upset us, and somehow that wouldn't surprise me too much. But if this team wants to be regarded as the best, they have to play like it, and they haven't really played like it at times in the postseason. And I pray that changes, because if it doesn't, then it's just another year, another disappointing loss, and another disappointing season for Celtics fans.